Okay. Hi, welcome to Clean and Sober Stoner. I'm Scott. This is Martin, and I'm so pissed off at you guys. I can't even begin. First off, Faceless King is one of my all-time favorite albums. Every year, every November, for the rest of my life, I will be putting Faceless King on.
I love that it's a seasonal record for you.
It is. Oh, that's dark, and it's, you got to have the fire, you have to have the mulled cider, maybe some hot cocoa, and, just breathe in the dark, ominous tones. I wanted Faceless King Part 2. You did not give me Faceless King Part 2, and I think it's madness.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, I heard one of the best albums I've ever heard in my life. Band is called Nishta. They're from Netherlands. I'm completely in love with them. They're my number one album of the year, right? Until I heard Scorched Oak last month, and now they're number one. You didn't give me what I want. You gave me what I needed. This album is uneffing believable, and I don't even know where to start.
Thank you.
It is light years beyond Faceless King, and I apologize if I pigeonholed you guys. You only do this one thing, and if you don't do that thing, I don't like you anymore. I'm sorry, dude. I gave those vibes.
I think we may lose some people because of that exact thing, but I'm glad there are people like you out there who are taking this journey with us as we kind of evolve and become what we're becoming,
Every objectively measurable standard of music, production, sound quality, musicianship, composition, arrangement, execution is improved across the board. It's similar to I'm driving down the road, right? And I haven't washed I'm from Ohio, so we wash our windshield once a year, maybe when the hailstorm comes.
Right.
It's like I have a clean windshield, and it is a quantum leap forward, narratively, the whole 9 yards. So
thank you, man.
Congratulations. Now I'm screwed because it's April, and I am in danger of having the most painful year-end list ever because there's so much good music, and you just put one out. It's like you said, hey, hold my beer, and you came out with this.
Well, it killed me a few weeks ago when I found out that I think both Paul Bearer and Uncle Acid, who I both love, have albums coming out in May along with ours. So I was like, it was just, you always want to maybe get to the top of the Doom charts and then somebody else is sneaking around the corner on you, but I love those guys. So
I love all of them. This is the album, Martin. I have no humility. I mean, I act like I'm humble, and I know I'm not. This is the album that puts you into that ranking. It's just you don't play live, right?
No, we desperately want to, but life has not allowed it so far. We have just life circumstances. We all have day gigs. We have a drummer on the other side of the country, but we love making records and doing our thing. And so we kind of just dump our heart and soul and everything we can do into that, and hope to get out there in front of people at some point with this stuff. If enough people get turned on to the music and the demand is enough to see us perform this stuff live, then we'll make it happen eventually. We've had some invitations to play some festivals and stuff that I regret we haven't been able to take, but it'll happen at some point. The stars will align for us. It's not by lack of wanting to.
Okay. So you're not like Steely Dan going, now.
No, I just think, we all have families. We all have day jobs. We're at a point in our lives where piling in a van and, dropping out of the rest of our lives for a couple months to lose money is not, high on our list if we can be making records during that time. I'd rather keep putting new material out, as much as we can.
I don't think we're going to have time. I'm trying to do shorter videos that are more concentrated and powerful.
I know you and I like to gab, so.
I know. And so far, we haven't done too many ums.
Yes. Trying to get better about that.
That's still one of my favorite shorts. Let's not do that again. Right out the gate, Vengeance Speaks. It starts out, this sounds like Vitskar Suden. It could have come from the first album. It could have come for about 10 seconds. And then it changes everything utterly and completely, right? This is a redesign of Vitskar Suden without changing Vitskar Suden. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think I really feel like we still sound like ourselves on this record, even though there's a lot of changes and new sounds in it. I think we're just weird enough that we are what we are, I hope people see it that way.
One of the first things, so first I was smile, ear to ear when I'm listening to this. And then I heard female backing vocals.
That is my sister-in-law. I just, out of good fortune, happened to have a sister-in-law based out of Springfield, Missouri, who's a singer. And we wanted a female presence on this track and a couple of others near the end of the record. And so I left a space for her in there, and I didn't know what would be done with it. And she sings usually jazz standards and things like that, but she's got a set of pipes. And I sent her some Lucius stuff, and I was like, I know you're only one woman, but try to manifest the power that these two ladies have in your voice and just do whatever you want to do over this section of this song. And she did it. I'm sorry to say I wasn't there when she recorded it because we had to kind of do it long distance, but we got the files when we were in Austin mixing the record with our co-producer Don Cinto, and we put it on and laid it into the track, and we were all just like, oh my God, just basically crying. So in a good way. Yeah, I love what she did.
It was unexpected. It fit because it took me a while. It fits the song so well. It was like a little, I think after her first strain.
Yeah, we introduced her.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. We wanted you to have that moment where it's like, what's this? I haven't heard this in here before.
Are those real cellos on this album?
Yeah, man. I figured out around the time we wrote the first record that I just love writing string arrangements, and I never knew I had that in me, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I just started writing string arrangements for a couple songs, and this time out, I'm like, we got to get live strings. And my son's a cello player. He does not play on the record, but his instructor is a studio musician in LA. A fantastic cellist, and I knew a violinist through him. So I wrote an arrangement and had those guys do it. And it was so fun to have that show up on two of the tracks on the record. It was really like hearing the wood from those live strings, and it's just super cool to me. So it was fun to have that.
Hear our plea, show your presence, born of flame, sons of Aaron, lift this curse in your silence. Hold your judgment for the foul and cruel. We've seen dark witness seraphim draw water from a stone. Lift your chalice, quench our thirst. When the righteous come crawling past, they'll beg to you. No one offers prayer when mouths are full, till the cycle of toil returns. When the cycle of toil returns. Come to us, moving like rivers flowing. Someone calls out, Spirit takes a turn your hearts, face the coming storm. Vengeance speaks many tongues.
Rhea, is that how you say it? Is Rhea?
Relia is how I say it, but according to the H.P.
Relia.
Lovecraft experts I consulted with, there is no right way to say Relia because it is an alien tongue from the elder gods, and so humans cannot pronounce it correctly. There is no right way to say it. So I got sort of an approval from some of my Lovecraftian friends to say it however I wanted to say it, and that's the way it sang best to me. So that's what I did with it.
This is not a sponsored video, but dude, it is dark ambient. It's called Run to Goth. It's totally based on Lovecraft. It is intense. So I'm loving the Lovecraft. I'm loving all the Lovecraft that's coming in. I had no idea because there aren't a lot of liner notes in my digital files of this.
There will be at least good comprehensive lyric liner notes with the vinyl release of this record. Yeah. And then I'm going to go, we're repressing the first, or not repressing, we're pressing the first album for the first time in November with Ripple. And I'm going to write up a bunch of liner notes for that since it's been a little while.
Ooh, so you heard it here, folks. So we're going to be able to get all of Vitskar Suden on a, never mind, I was going to slag vinyl.
They'll press CDs too, so. For the Europeans who still love their CDs.
What I would love would be to be able to get a CD in an album-sized, case. That way I can have the liner notes, I can have the
And the
pictures,
art, yeah.
and the owners can use it for their seeds.
All our lyrics are up on Bandcamp, so if you ever want to dive into lyrics,
Okay.
you can check them all out there.
Rely could be my favorite song. That's the thing about this album. And I really encourage everybody who's watching this, hearing this, and listening to this on the podcast, which, did you know I have a podcast now?
I'm not sure I knew that.
Yeah.
I follow you on
not
YouTube
gonna-
and watch all the videos there, but
I'm not going to promote until I've got at least 10 to 20 things. Like some people know, but so yeah, we're going to take all the interviews, put them on the podcast.
oh, nice.
So for everybody on all, we're taking over, dude. We're taking over. We're going to do everything because I have so much time to do it.
Yeah.
Relia could be my favorite song, but this is the kind of album that every song becomes my new favorite song off of the album.
Good. That's a great
And
sign.
they're all starkly different. With Faceless King, you had your own story. You had your Dungeons and Dragons module.
Yeah, this I feel like is more like a weird fiction collection. I mean, I try to take you to 3 different short stories that all have their own vibe and their own setting and story where applicable. But it's more like a fiction collection than a one continuous vibe. But I think it all it all touches on a similar subject matter in a way, to me at least. So it's not a concept record overtly, but in my brain, it's a concept record.
Well, yeah, it seems to deal very starkly with, there's a lot of death.
That's kind of the through line, and I hate to be a downer. I think the music itself isn't always maudlin and sad, but that certainly isolation, death, the unknown, like those run through this record in a very serious way, and I don't know why. I don't plan these things. That's what happened.
On your previous albums, again, all available on Bandcamp and soon to be repressed by our friends at Ripple Music, I don't remember overt use of synthesizers as much.
They make cameo appearances. The first record has some synth on it. Faceless King certainly has some synth on a couple of tracks. But we dove. Both guitar players in the band are synth enthusiasts, and I am as well. So we kind of each chipped in a little bit and offered some tastes here and there on this record, and so it made a little more of a presence than it has in the past.
Were any of those synthesizers an old Prophet?
I use Prophet simulators on most of the stuff I do. There's an ARP in play on Relia. We were missing our drummer when we were developing that track. He's on the opposite coast from us, and most of his material for the rest of the record was done, and we were missing him. And so Julian, one of our guitar players, developed this ARP and drum sequence that we fell in love with for that track. And it was kind of like, are people going to push back against this? Can we get away with this? And we're like, as usual, fuck it, we love it. This is music we make for ourselves and hope that people enjoy it. And it became kind of the bed of that track, other than this riff that he uses in it, which we had always called the riff when we were toying around with it. And an Easter eggs in the Faceless King on the Way Part 1 in the Spacey section, that riff, we Easter egged it there because we knew we were going to do something with it for the next record. So if you go back and listen to that, you'll hear a little bit of Relia in that section.
It's a absolutely fantastic song. I say that I got to work on my vocabulary when I need a thesaurus right in front of me.
I'm guilty of it too, man. Every
no.
time I talk about a record, I do some things online where I talk about a record, and I'm just, all I ever say is, "Oh, I love this." I loved doing this.
Yeah,
this was fun. I say that all the time.
Yeah, I see it in my writing. I have an interview with J.J. Kozan where he's like, every time.
That was a great interview.
Every time. Thanks. Also available on the podcast. already. That's the first thing
Nice.
I put. The whole thing, hour and 40 minutes, non-stop,
I think I've heard
non-edited.
both sections of it on YouTube. They were great.
You ask of its name. Rely on. You ask of its name. Rely on. Long before the fall, the city out of reach, somewhere for the masters, nothing for the thieves. You ask of its name. You ask of its name. We don't ingest the body. We don't imbibe the blood. Fearing toward the rapture. Epiphanies withstood. Long before the fall, city out of reach, somewhere for the masters, nothing for the thieves. Long before the city out of reach, somewhere for the masters, nothing for the thieves.
Through tunnels they move is as dark gets. I think the bard, the guy who helped you, I wish I don't have my notes, said that listening to Vitskar Suden is like a morphine drip and then into I love
Yeah, that's Laird Barron.
that's
who's a
what this
cosmic
is.
horror author that I love, and he's a
Yeah.
supporter of our stuff, and we of him.
You guys really seriously leaned into the synthesizers, and I mean it's all over. You're basically Rush at Permanent Waves on this album. No, really, but in a good way. It reminds me of Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Maiden.
One
I
of my favorite
reviled
records.
that album.
I know.
I
We talked about that
reviled-
last time. How everyone was so against that, and now if you go back through there, it's like this is good shit. It's undeniable.
Yeah, it's probably their. Some people say it's their best album. I'm one of them. The synths are all through this. They're used in ways that are it just feels cliche, totally organic. Like I have to go back and listen to old Vitskar Suden and go, have they been doing this the whole time? Because
It's been hidden in there, man. We're still a guitar band. Don't worry. But demoing songs out, or as we start to work on songs, synth is just a great tool for us to put ideas in there. And sometimes those turn into other instruments or something as we develop a track. But sometimes the synth is delicious and stays. And we don't have any aversion to that.
So is Through Tunnels They Move, is that based on any stories, or is that your own original?
No, last time we talked on The Faceless King, and I'm here again now, I was working in Georgia on a film project, and I was living in this town called Sonoya where they shot The Walking Dead, and I was living in a house owned by the cinematographer of The Walking Dead, and out back were some woods, and it rained all the time, and I had my little remote studio set up in there, and so I spent a lot of time staring out at the rainy woods, and that factors into this song and Hidden by the Day, the one after it, probably the most. That vibe I got from being there, working on this stuff.
With the leaves around you in the
Hidden by the Day may be the most shocking Vitskar Suden turn.
You know, I got to say, Scott, this song started out as something completely different. It was a full band track. I had a horn arrangement on it at one point early on, and the guys were like, what the hell is this? And then I left town for work, and we started to develop it amongst ourselves, and they stripped everything out of it, and we're like, this is a piano song. I was like, okay, we don't have a real piano player in the band. But TJ Weber, our guitarist, wrote a piano part for it that was then expanded upon by this guy, Rich Martin, who we borrowed from our co-producer's band called Shibboleth, who's an amazing, his piano playing is just mind-blowing, and I'm glad he got into play on this one. But it turned into something really different, and I wrote the string arrangement for it, which was just a cello and a violin, and it was just so nice and stark and beautiful. I mean, to us, it became a really pretty song about something not so pretty. Our other guitar player, Julian, had challenged me to write something that goes to a positive place at some point because my lyrics are usually so dark. And I was like, okay. And then I wrote a song about a guy dying alone in the forest and coming back as a mushroom creature. So that's about as close as I get to happy endings in our songs, but it's a happy ending to me. The guy's, you know, he's different now, but he's going to live forever. So, but yeah, so this song was our second single we put out, and you know, it wasn't going to be because I was worried about what the reaction to it would be from the people who have embraced us in sort of the Doom Charts community, and who we love, and nobody else really puts out ballads as singles. But I was like, you know, again, we do what we do in this band, and we are who we are. And I think the track turned out great, and it deserves an audience. And it's a story. It's the most literal storytelling on the record. This story of this track, and so again, we were just like, screw it, let's do it. Who cares what anybody thinks? Hopefully, they dig it, but you never know.
Prediction time. This is the song that puts Vitskar Suden over the top.
I hope I hope so, but I hope any song puts us. I mean, our band is all about the love of making music and hoping people listen to it, because that's what makes it the circle complete. You know.
I might actually do some critical analysis on this song. I'm just do like reviews and just get stuff out there. From an analytical point of view, this is your strongest song, I think. Thematically, it's a complete story, like you said, unto itself. It's just the arrangement, the tone, the complete, like, when I listen to this, I'm like, there had to be at least 50 different iterations of this to figure out exactly where this goes, where does that go. It is the best showcase of your voice. I'm going to go there now. Your singing on this album is light years ahead of Faceless King. You sound confident. You sound like you're really digging in, you know, from your diaphragm. There's some tremolo, some vibrato in there. It's like, to me, it's a vocal performance of the ages. And there are times where you're singing on one track and then there's another track that comes in like a couple milliseconds after, and it's layered. And on headphones, it has that effect of being layered. It's, dude.
Thank you, man. I tried to up the vocal game on this one, and I knew there were a couple of these tracks as they were coming together that I was going to be just out there. You know, like I think there's at least 2 or 3 tracks where I'm singing over one instrument for part of the track, and so you can't hide from that. There's no duck me into the mix and put some reverb on it and then that. So, look, I'm not the greatest singer in the universe, but I feel like I tried to set these tracks in a comfortable place in my range where I could bring some character, the character of the stories to the vocal performance, and So that was the goal. And then I, got to do all that with one of my best friends, Don, our co-producer and mixer in Austin, where I do the vocal tracking. And, he's just, it's nice working with somebody you trust 100% and who's going to tell you, their opinion and not going to yes man you, but also not going to dog you out. That's just like going to be there to try to get the best performance they can out of you. So that's what I have with him, and it's a good relationship.
Far from home, drenched in rain. Hopeful still, this escape. Choices made, come what may. Thought these woods would keep me safe. Tendrils wind, obfuscate. Shelter wrecked, all in vain. No supplies, all the doubts now to face. Spores drift past, beckoning. It's easy to ignore hunger's pangs when the forced floor becomes your grave.
Tattered Sails starts out, I loved it, and then I'll be honest, at about 3 minutes in, I didn't love the song so much. I'm like, God, this goes on forever. And then at 6 minutes 30 seconds, I'm like, I don't want this to end. I want this to keep going. I want it to. It's one of the most patient songs ever to come from Vitskar Suden. You picked a to me, very bare bones progression. It's it stays in this thing long enough that it goes from a weakness to a strength. And I'm serious. I was like, okay, every album needs its weak part. And by the end of it, I went, oh, no. They're just testing if I'm paying attention.
Thanks, man. I
love that song.
I think it's probably one of our couple of doomiest tracks on the record, and one of the heavier tracks, really, even though if you just put it on for 10 seconds for somebody, I don't know that they would say it's a heavy track, but there's a weight to that track, to me, that really shines through, and it's, slow paced, and we're trying to put you in a place and give you an experience with that place. When it started out, our guitarist Julian Goberger was playing this, I don't even know what effect it was going through on his guitar, that sounded to me like a creaking ship sinking to the bottom of the ocean, and that's what informed the setting and the lyrics. And then we just started building over that, and we're like, okay, the other guitars are the crashing waves, and then the bass, and we're undulating with that, and kind of bringing the ebbs and flows of this storm into it. So that's kind of where it came from, and I'm glad you ultimately liked it.
It's the bass that sucks me in, because you have synthesized bass, I'm guessing, plus your actual bass.
Not on that track, Scott. I just have.
Not on that one.
I have a couple of. I love this. Who makes it? Way Huge Pork and Pickle that I love, a pedal that I love, and their Russian Pickle, a distortion pedal I use on a couple of tracks on the record. But yeah, man, it's all about just digging down deep in there and finding some good grit to it that I like. Sometimes it is funny though. Sometimes that grit from the effects turns the bass into almost a synthy kind of element. But I've never used synth bass on any of our stuff yet. We have some pad on Vengeance Speak, some really low, like 808 pad on it that supports my bass in a couple of sections on that, but no straight up synth bass anywhere. But I'm not opposed to it. It may show up in the future,
Unfurl the sails tonight. Tattered, lost and white. Pull the ships to rest. Drag them to the dead. siren song is sung. Inviting with summer in the wind. The siren song is sung. No summer song calls from
Then we have Everywhere All Alone. Madness, Martin. This song is hysterical madness. The guitar. Who's playing the jangy, unearthly, old school? Who's doing?
That's Julian, and that guitar was straight out of our improv when we were making up this track out of thin air. That, and I think I may have redone the bass on it, but that and the drums. And I love Christopher Martin's drumming on this track. So that guitar and the drums are straight from us. We've talked about this before when you and I have talked, but we just get in a room, we start playing something, and those two elements stayed whole cloth from that improv, and then we sort of start editing from there and layering and adding in some different elements. And the lyrics were kind of from there.
insane. The song is.
I hope you're saying that in a good way.
Oh yeah, it's like a madman possessed on this song. There's so you have that part of it, but then the main song itself isn't really. It's not grounded in that style or in that sound. So there's so many things going on in that song that it, of course, became my favorite song of the album. As soon as I heard it, I'm like, it is crazy. It's so much fun. It's creative. It's inventive, but dark as hell.
Yeah, we're a couple of us in the band are big David Lynch fans, and I think as we started to develop that track, that was a touchstone for us. I added the Fender Rhodes that I play on it, and that sort of gave it another little spooky layer. And but it was a really simple part, and we just started like it was just like a slow creeper, like that song, and it is the most sort of esoteric death meditation on the record. Certainly the lyrics are just, I probably sing 5 words all told in that and in different arrangements. But yeah, man, that's one of my favorite tracks on the record. We were going to release that as a single, but we're releasing Relia as our 3rd single instead. We may still do something with Everyone All Alone though, because we love the track. It's one of our favorites.
Really, folks, you have to listen. To me, that song only works if you listen to Tattered Sails first, because the contrast between the two, it's like one of those classic twofers on a classic rock station. It just works. The pacing of the album, how deliberate, like it starts out, it takes you on a journey, it ebbs and flows. It's just wonderfully paced.
Our side A is certainly, at least starts out. I mean, Vengeance gets you into this couple of tracks where they're a little more up tempo for us than usual, Relia and Through Tunnels. Mm-hmm. And then after the Hidden finishes at the end of side A, we wanted to release into some dark, slow-ish, old school Vitskar stuff for a little bit, and then sort of build out to this sort of coda, which the last track is kind of this sort of theatrical coda on the record.
Elegy is the perfect end to this song. It brought tears to my eyes. It just really did. It's like this heartfelt, like, what were you thinking? What kind of emotional turmoil were you in when you wrote this piece of music?
It's a little story, even though the story isn't as obvious in that track. But that song started out, the what you hear sort of fade in for the first minute or so of that track was what that track was initially. It was a full band kind of rock song, but we decided at one point that we just wanted to have that, but then turn out all the lights on the stage and have like Bowie at a piano, or Freddie at a piano or whatever, and tell the story and build back up from there. And the story came. A lot of these stories, Scott, come from I sing these mumble tracks when we jam, and sometimes I have words in them, and sometimes I'll key off those words when I develop the lyrics later. And I can't remember what of those were in this, but there was something about left to die among the reeds. Weren't you the one who said they'd lead us home, or something like that? And then I just found the story started to develop with the track, and about these soldiers who had been led into a needless war and led to sacrifice themselves for nothing. And so that's what that became.
I love your description. It literally is. It's the end of the show. Sitting at the piano, light goes out, and boom. It's.
Thank you, man.
I swear to God, it's a breathtaking journey from start to finish. That as soon as you think you're in awe of what just happened, oh, we've got another batch of awe for you, and
the ladies come back into play on the end of that one, which was nice. We wanted that in that track, and so both Christy, who sings on the first on Vengeance, and then another great singer named Isabel Bioso sings backups on that as well, because I had these visions. I call them visions, but they're audio visions. I don't know what that means, but we just wanted. I envisioned these female harmonies coming in at the end of that, and they brought that, and that was really great. So it's really nice. It's another little slice of us.
You know, I like that. It's one long excursion into synesthesia, because it's going to bring a lot of. I like that. That might be in my review.
Well, we try to be cinematic with our stuff. We want you to see something when you're listening to our music. You know, that's the point. We all come from filmmaking backgrounds, and so we are storytellers, and we want you to see these places and feel them in addition to hearing them. So that's part of the goal.
Well, we were talking at the beginning of this. I had a particularly miserable experience when I listened to this, and it made me go, screw it, I'm fine. It did. It took me completely out of wherever I was at. I can't let you go without talking about production. Where was this? Was it recorded in one place, or God forbid, did you record in separate places and string them together?
A little bit of everything, and you know, just like when we were talking about synth, we'll use whatever tool we have at our disposal. And so, about half of this record probably had been written when I was in LA with the guys, and we already had drum tracks from our drummer, who is out of state now. And then I came here to Georgia to work on a film, and started working on scratch vocals and some additional compositional stuff here, and then we're going back and forth with the guys online, and then I go track vocals in Austin with our co-producer, where the mix is done. The guys come out, and we mix the record with him. So it's a little bit of globetrotting on this one, but I think that's what makes it such a more deliberate album from us, because it had to be considered in different ways, and we had more time to really, you know, kind of throw everything out and figure out what's important to these tracks. And so the guys, you know, blindsided me a couple of times with what I thought were great demos that I'd given them as we were developing stuff, and then they took everything out of it and made it like Vengeance was like that. They gave me back what had been this full track that's now this slow burn that builds. And it was absolutely the right decision, but I heard it for the first time and I was like, what the hell, guys? Like, drums don't even come in until 3 minutes into the song. Like, you can't do this. And then I listened to it 20 more times and I was like, oh shit, this is like exactly what this song should be. It's a prayer, you know, it needs to emote and develop and swell. So we were a little bit all over the place with our production on this, but I think it got us to make some choices that were considered in a different way, which was a good thing. So
my hat's off to your guitar players. Hopefully in the you know, there's a couple albums with John McLaughlin, Paco de Lucia, and a couple other guys. On the liner notes, they tell you on the song which channel they're coming in, you know. We need that. I need that. I want to know the guys that are playing these things. Yeah, because it's so anonymous.
Well, they're great about sharing their space, and they solo on different songs, and sometimes both in the same song in different passages. So they share that sort of dense pocket of our music really well together, and it's one of the things that really works in this band is the two of those guys. Most
bands I know that have a double guitar attack, they tend to go more into the Thin Lizzy or the Wishbone Ash,
right?
Or, you know, Skinner, where you've got the shredders. There's none of that here. It's this cohesive unit. I discovered that on Faces King. It's even more at play here. Plus, the recording is just so much better. Like, the guitars are far more in the front. Your vocals are far more in the front. Everything has its own sense of space. And it makes for a trippy psychedelic listen on these things.
Yeah, we always try to make headphone records, and I mean, we want them to sound great without headphones too. But our mixer is all about, you know, bringing some interesting ear candy to you as all these parts are delivered. So I'm glad that you.
Do you have any particular headphones that you personally prefer when you're listening to Vitskar Suden?
I am probably the least audiophile in the band. My favorite place to listen to our mixes is in my car. So when I get new mixes for our stuff, I just drive around for hours and then make notes in my phone, about different adjustments. And because I think, not sadly, that's where a lot of people listen to music. And so that's where I want it to that's where I want it to feel good. And then I go back, of course, and listen to it in headphones. And I have an old pair of Sony Studio headphones that I listen to stuff in primarily when I'm doing headphone listens, that I've had to replace the, whatever you call the pads around the ears on several times, because I've had them a long time. But they're great and they have a great bass response in them. And, of course, bass player wants to hear the bass sound good. So, but yeah, man. But the other guys, they're geeks with the guitar guys. Particularly are instrument geeks, effects geeks, amp geeks, synth geeks. Like they're gearheads, and I'm just not that. They're about like twiddling knobs and patching cables and analog synths, and I'm like, give me a Prophet simulator and let me get the melody out of my head or this chord progression out of my head as quickly as possible. I want it to sound good, but I don't want to spend an hour dialing it in and forget what I'm hearing, in my mind that I need to get down into something. So I'm all about, that process for me.
That's a great answer. I love that answer. One last question, and it's a toughie. Martin, it's the end of the day. It's the end of the week. You've got to put on your favorite playlist to unwind. Who's on your playlist?
A lot of a variety of stuff that probably people that listen to our music may or may not care for, or maybe I hope our listeners are diverse music listeners, because if you're appreciating our stuff, you kind of have to be a little bit. What have I been listening to lately? The last 2 years, I've been listening to a ton of Depeche Mode, man. I got to say, I didn't know Depeche back in the day, and I thought they were something else when I was young. I was just averse to them because I thought they were something different than what they actually are. And the last couple of years, I've just fallen head over heels for Depeche Mode, and I think they're still putting out strong material to this day. I saw them live a couple of months ago, and they were fantastic. Dave Gahan's one of my favorite voices out there for baritone singers. Martin Gore's guitar work and production, and his guitar work is nothing crazy and technical. It's just hooky, layered, wonderful little guitar bits, and they're all about layering and texture, and that's something that interests us a lot. So that would be there. Bowie, of course. Floyd, I never get tired of, and I go back to them constantly. If we're just talking, this is not like what I was listening to in the last few weeks. This is just overall what I listen to the most. Soundgarden, I go back to time and again. Contemporaries, Windhand, I love. Elephant Tree out of the UK. There's a bunch of those who I'll forget. I saw a bunch of great bands at Ripple Fest last year in Texas. We were mixing the record, and I was doing vocals in Austin and at the time of Ripple Fest. So I got to go see some great bands there. Just a really wide variety of stuff, all different genres. Some outlaw country occasionally, I'll go for whatever. I'm not a musical elitist. I like lots of different variety. And I think that's what happens in our music,
I was talking to someone who was making a legitimate argument that Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson are probably the actual forefathers of stoner rock and desert rock, and I'm like, I can't really argue against that.
That's a decent. That'd be a good conversation for sure. No doubt about it.
I don't feel that, you know, but it's a great perspective. Gypsy interviewed an extremely hard, heavy, sludgy band, and one of their biggest influences was Dave Matthews Band.
That's amazing. I think you know
The rhythm section.
I think you never know what
The
people
rhythm.
are into, you know, and some of your favorite bands may have the most eclectic listening tastes that are surprising that you'd never imagine. And I listen to a ton of stuff that's shows up on the Doom charts every month, and I follow a lot of those bands and listen to a lot of their music. But I love all different types of stuff, and I go back to, you know, things from my youth that I love, some just nostalgia records. I'll listen to some, you know, 80s metal anytime I get a chance. The first couple of Queensrÿche records are favorites of mine. So, you know, all over the place. And the other guys in the band, they're all over the place. We cross paths on a few things, but they listen to completely different stuff from me. And the guitarists love all sorts of different guitarists, some of them in our wheelhouse, many of them not at all. And I think that shows up in their playing, and adds a uniqueness to our band. They're not just listening to riffy Black Sabbath stuff. They're listening to all sorts of stuff and bringing that into our mix. And so it's all that stuff just adds up to what we are, which is hopefully something unique and different, but also listenable. So.
Okay, this has been fantastic. I got one parting comment that'll be in my review. Vessels sounds like Brian Eno produced Vitskar Suden. It has that very tasty, stripped back, a little bit minimal, giving things a lot of space and a lot of layers. And through the whole thing, I'm thinking of Brian Eno, and I can't think of a better compliment.
I'll pass that along to Don Cento, our co-producer mixer. He will. He's an Eno fan and will love to hear that. So, thank you.
It's an astonishing job that's worthy of the best headphones that I have, and it's going to be on there on heavy rotation. My friend, thank you so much for being such a good friend to the channel, a good friend to me. Your support, again, put us on the map, and if I can return the favor in any small way, we're going to keep doing it.
Hey, thanks for getting the word out on our stuff, and thanks for taking the journey with us as we kind of travel through these records and continue to metamorphosize and evolve ourselves. And thanks for hanging with us. I'm glad you like it.
Okay, this is Clean and Sober Stoner saying, dude, don't go anywhere.